Hello, this is Professor Jag, and this is week 4, lecture 4, part A of lecture 4. This is chapter 8, a continuation of chapter 7, stratification chapter. This is chapter 8, the one chapter on social class. Okay, so one follows the other. So here we have Marx versus Weber, and Karl Marx social class model pretty much is what you see here. His theory, capitalists versus workers, conflict theory. Old conflict theory tells you, go back to chapter 1 and you'll see that we always have to identify and oppress and an oppressor, and this is the typical case here. On the right hand side you have Max Weber's social class interpretation, and this interpretation, according to him, consists of 3 elements: wealth, how much money you have, how much property you have, power, and prestige. In this case, education would be prestige. So both theories are very different, and so we also want to discuss the model. To the left hand side you have the pyramid model, and this applies to Karl Marx's interpretation of social class, right? This pretty much looks like the state system of stratification. Go back to chapter 7, we talk about the different systems of stratification. This looks very much like that, but it's a social class system. The middle class is very small, and the high class, only a couple of people actually take control of it, right? But to the right hand side we have Max Weber. And let me tell you something: the social class ladder is not Max Weber's design. No, but I'm putting it on this side as if it was Max Weber, because his a theory of social class is very applicable to the social class ladder. So to differentiate, you'll see that there are a lot more social classes in the Max Weber social class ladder than the pyramid model. So we also have, let's defragment the classes and let's compare them. We have the high class, the middle class, and the low class. For the high class, both Karl Marx and Max Weber, you get to see the percentage. Well, what are we comparing? Well, this is what we're comparing. Karl Marx model represents third world countries, social class third world countries. But Weber's model represents a multi-class model, the United States. And the numbers that you see there, the percentage numbers, the United States. We are a very strong middle class in the United States. You see that we account for about 44% more or less of middle class members or recipients in the United States. So you see that both are very different, and only in one you have social mobility. So Karl Marx's model is representative of least industrialized countries, while Max Weber's model is representative of most industrialized countries. And you could go ahead and make the comparison like that, right? But both models speak about social class. It happens just that in one, social mobility reigns. We have a paper to write, don't forget. And for this paper, it reads the following way. Fact: what makes of the U.S. a solid and stable economy is its middle class. Other third world economies do not offer the experience of social mobility like we do, right? Risk. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer if the gap between rich and poor continues to widen. The middle class is sensitive to change and destined to fade as social problems affect its stability. And here's how I want you to write the paper. I want you to write the paper in 2 parts. The first part: if the social problem continues, would it cause the middle class to fade? Yes or no? Explain. Part 2: would our Weberian class system change to a Marxist system if the social problem continues? Explain. If you said no in part 1, explain why not furthermore. If you say yes, explain how. Explain how it would revert. Makes sense. And use all the information you so far have seen on my presentations, or you may also apply your readings in addition to this. Now, social class, continuing with the discussion of social class, you see that the fact that I gave you is definitely very much Max Weber's interpretation of social class. The U.S. having a strong and middle class economy is like no other nation around the world. And this is one of the things that makes us unique. I also want you to self-entertain yourselves with a couple of questions that I have here. This is for your information. Further investigate or research these questions. We'll go ahead and help you out together with your understanding of this chapter, and maybe even with your paper, okay? This is focus for both stratification and social class chapters. But let's talk about Karl Marx and exclusive Karl Marx. For Marx, class position is determined by people's work situation or relationship to the means of production, right? In resumed words, after you read all the details that I have here, okay, you either work or not. And if you work, you're poor. That's it. And if you don't work, you're in control of the means of production. Okay, I mean, simple like that, black and white. Okay, it's easy. Okay, so the poor has to sell his or her labor for the highest price. That's kind of one way I say it, and the way you could go ahead and quote me there. I have my quote there. You could go ahead and use that as well to make further sense of Karl Marx. In conclusion, piggybacking back to chapter 1, chapter 7, and this chapter, chapter 8, Marx's views makes us aware of macro level economic conditions, right? Because we're making an analysis at a global level, groups, large groups, world markets, right? According to me, Marx is correct in saying that people should act politically in changing their social condition, but it is to the sociological process. You'll go ahead and see that in chapter 16, social activism, marches, riots, panics, and other social movements that seek change. That's kind of my analysis to that. And, it's a good analysis altogether, decent analysis on Karl Marx without criticizing Karl Marx. Weber, my hero. Weber agreed with Marx, assertion that economic factors are important in understanding individual group behavior. However, Weber emphasized that non-factor such as economic divisions between capitalists and workers was sufficient for defining location within the class structure. So let's see. As a result, he developed, this multi-dimensional approach, those three elements, and altogether, I actually do apply it to the social class ladder because it's very representative of that, rather, right? So altogether, you have the theory of Karl Marx versus the theory of Max Weber and how it applies to social class. Both models are definitely top-notch. Okay, and let's see, Max Weber, elements of Max Weber, piggybacking back to the previous lectures and whatnot, right? Your readings as well, wealth, prestige, power. You pretty much have, I gave you the definition for each of those so that you pretty much understand what each of these terms mean. Good for your midterm, and also good for the writing of this paper for you to understand what each element is. Wealth is property, prestige is education, and power, only very few people have it, okay, out of the three elements. If you're higher than upper middle class, you're closer to attaining power. And power, either political or in terms of money, if you have enough money or plenty of money to buy power for a couple of weekends, you have to think about it in that way, in terms of money, in terms of wealth. Okay, so Max Weber multi-class system, here's my explanation. First, it is a fact that if a social class system possesses a strong middle class, for example, the U.S., for social mobility to be an option affordable by the citizen or attainable by the citizen. Second of all, most individuals may attain property prestige, but few actually attain power. I said that earlier in the previous slide. But third of all, a strong middle class system is catalyst for democracy, right? I mean, come on. We need the chance to advance. Everybody deserves the chance for the American dream. That's democracy. But here's my final observation, and this hurts a lot of people. I don't know why. Well, here it goes anyways, okay? Here's a harsh fact. In order to have rich people, we must also have poor people. This applies to either model when speaking about social class. Again, capitalism in action. Profit over poverty equals capitalism. So you do not have to be a Marxist, and you may be a Marxist. You may have different ideas. You may be a functionalist yourself. You may actually perceive society in different ways, socioeconomics. But bottom line, you have rich and you have poor, and that's it. In a way, I kind of assert with Marx there, right? I have a couple of theories here, the sociological theories. Why is that I'm not including the symbolic interactionist perspective here? Well, we're making a global analysis, right? Macro, going back to chapter 1 and I don't know how many other chapters. Global analysis, global economy, right? Global stratification, global, right? International, right? Big, large groups, institutions, and so on, right? It's not face-to-face interaction. So go ahead and study these theoretical perspectives, and hopefully you're going to do good on this paper. Email me, get to me if you have any questions. I'm here to help. Thank you very much for your time again. Bye-bye. This is Jack.